Hey, now I want to give you my quick opinion on the Microsoft Courier that everybody's so excited about. Let me tell you why you shouldn't be excited about this. For one, it's vaporware. It might come to pass if they get enough people interested in it by putting out these fake screenshots and stuff. But, excuse me, this fold design has been tested in the past, and there's a reason why Apple didn't go with it. For one, are these screens going to be the same size as the iPad screen, meaning 9.7 inches? If it is going to be that big, there's going to be two of them. So since the iPad is 1.5 pounds, which is I'm sure is the absolute lightest Apple could get something that size with the capability in it that it has, so I'm assuming Windows won't be able to do much better. So we're talking two 1.5 pound slate devices inside of one notebook. So we're talking 3 fucking pounds worth of Courier, a stylus, and that's not to mention people's going to start putting stuff in the middle of it, closing it like bookmarks, a piece of paper, or maybe your kid will throw a rock in there and you won't see it and you'll shut it. Crack, or you'll shut it and won't know it and it'll just slide around in there all day and scratch it up real good for you. Or how long do you think it's going to be before the little thing in the middle that you open and shut a million times a day starts to split, and then finally it rips up and you got two pieces? Or you take one out and you get it lost, or you get it flipped backwards, and then it's a hassle. When you go to flip it on, you're like, fuck, it's upside down. You got to take it out, put it around. Two separate screens is a horrible, horrible design. And when it comes out and it's gets put into practical use, after about 6 months to a year, you're all going to start seeing the flaws in this dual screen type device. Pulling this thing out in a store, is that what you're telling me? Are you going to be using it for businesses, like for transactions, or is this going to be a media consumption device? Is it going to be both? If it's not going to be a 3-pound monstrosity with 2.5 pound screens, the screens are going to have to be smaller, and if the screens are smaller, the productivity goes down completely. And of course Microsoft will sell it, well, since it's two 6-inch screens, it's like having one 12-inch. I'm sure they'll put some kind of stupid spin on it like that. And I like the idea of being able to flick stuff to other screens, and handwriting recognition. But if you look at some of the drawing applications on the iPad, handwriting would be really, really, really well done on the iPad if Apple put the time into it. And I've heard rumors from buddies like DRB UK and stuff that Apple's working on a revolutionary stylus just for handwriting, for people who want to write by hand on the tablet and sign and stuff. They'll have this accessory you can buy. Like the iPad has the accessory USB adapter and the accessory SD card, and people say, why don't they build these in? Well, if they built them in, it's an added expense that you have to pay. Okay, they would have to charge you more if they added a USB port and an SD card slot in the iPad. They would have to. Okay, so this way you can choose whether or not you want to pay for it. Do you want a USB? If you need it, then you can choose to buy the adapter and have it. If you don't want it, you don't have to spend the money. The average everyday Joe don't give a shit about USB. Don't know about USB. If it's got it, they use it. If it don't, they don't. If down the line they figure out they got a camera and they need to connect it via USB, they can go on the Apple Store and buy the connector, and there you go. There's no conspiracy, so Apple can be in the connector business. That's not got nothing to do with it. It has a lot with including these things inside a device that you have to pay for. Why should we make people pay for it when we can just have an adapter and people can choose to pay for it? It's a brilliant concept. Y'all ought to think about it for once. But the MS Courier is a horrible, horrible, horrible design. The two-fold tablet is not going to work for not only the reasons that I've mentioned prior in this video, but for other reasons that I can't think of right now and I'm not mentioning, because I had a boatload ton of bad things that could happen with a device that you got to open up. What if you're standing out somewhere? This definitely ain't going to be good for presentations. That's for sure. The slate device is perfect unless they plan on, like I say, you can remove one from the sleeve and then you can use it by itself. But then you're going to take it, then you're going to get them separated and fucked up. Somebody will lose them. But you're going to stand up somewhere. You're going to make sure you have to have both screens supported. If you don't have both screens supported, like a book, one thing's going to flop down. So you're going to have to make sure you have both of them supported. It's going to be a complete hassle. And while on the surface it looks good, in practical use, it's going to be horrible, and the only thing good about it is it's probably going to run the Windows 7 series operating system. That's my prediction. I don't predict I'll put Windows 7 on it. I predict I'll put Windows 7 series phone OS on it. It's what I predict, and that will be its major selling point. Okay, but I don't know how that's going to work either, because some of the games on the Microsoft Store, I guess they will be tailored for the Courier. I won't know if I don't know if it has an accelerometer. If it does have an accelerometer, will it just be in one or two? Because I can see some interesting applications with two screens for games, but with no accelerometer and no way of playing and having to play them inside this little notebook type thing, would just seem so cumbersome to me. So this was just a quick, this is my opinion video on the Courier that everybody's talking about. Mark my words, it's a dumb idea, and if it gets executed, if not done perfectly, if Microsoft don't execute it perfectly and doesn't execute the operating system and the UI perfectly, it will flop. And Windows 7 series right now don't even support Flash, so that would be a big kick in the ass to all the PC users who's complained about the iPad not using Flash. They would have to totally eat crow, just like they're eating crow about the Windows 7 series phone not supporting Flash, Windows 7 series phone not supporting copy and paste. People say, well, they're planning on supporting it though. They're planning on supporting it. Yeah, you know that because they told you they plan on supporting it in the future when things are ready for it. Just like Apple. You actually think when they released the iPhone in 2007, they didn't anticipate having to put copy and paste on it? It just wasn't a good time to implement it. They wanted to wait till it could be nice and almost perfect, and they introduced copy and paste when it was ready. And the same way with Microsoft, they'll do it when they're ready. So I'm tired of the Microsoft apologists thinking of these dumb excuses why it's okay for Microsoft not to do these things when these same people gripe at Apple, for not having Flash and stuff. But that's a totally different video. I don't mean to get off on a separate tangent there, separate rant. This is just a video to tell you why I think the Courier is going to be a horribly, horribly failed device, a horribly executed device, and when people get it out in the field and start using this dual screen flip 3-pound fucking notebook with a stylus, they're going to regret spending their $300, $400, $500 or however much it cost. Okay, so my opinion in the long run, a 3-pound 2-slate notebook with a stylus, you can fucking keep it. OS 10, brothers.